Okay. Right. That's good. Gemara, huh? That's for. I would love to just do a little bit of halacha because we want to finish this week. I want to finish Reish Nun Gimel, Reish Nun Daled, Reish Nun Hey. Really want to get moving. Right. Because next week I want to dedicate everything for the Seder. Sunday night we're going to learn a beautiful sikha about Chol V'derech Adav Lidas Atzmi Til Yotzim Mitzrayim. And then Tuesday, Wednesday night, we're going to do as usual a dozen Divrei Torah and stories on the Agoda. Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday. So whatever the morning. So yes. After Pesach Hashem, we're going to go back. We're going to learn some in Shin Yud Ches, and then we'll do further from there. Okay. And then tomorrow also you'll continue with where we're holding. Yes. Tonight we're finishing the sugya. That's it. Done. Fine. Then we're gonna go back to here. Yes. Second and third. Yes. Wait. What page are we? Huh? To wait to put the shulchan earth. No. Leave it here, just in case we get to What page are we? Daf Yud Ches. Yeah. I'm sorry. Daf Yud Daf Chof. About 10 lines from the top. 12 lines from the top. Daf Chof HaMedalef, yeah. Daf Chof HaMedalef, 12 lines from the top. We're talking about Mishalshel and it's a Pesach. When the Korban Pesach, in the days of the Beis HaMikdash, he didn't have a special Tanur, and they would put in the Korban Pesach into the Tanur. We spoke about it recently, about the complications of making the Beis HaMikdash. We patented our new rotisserie for Korban Pesach that in Mitzvah Shem will be designed by us and will be made, and millions of these machines will be knocked out somewhere in Malaysia or China. And we set the goal for making these machines worth $59.99. So Mitzvah Shem, we still have to tweak a few nakudas of how we're going to make the rotisserie, but I think we got it mostly worked out. A small detail of the shaila is that, as I explained, when you have rotisserie, it's delicious to eat it fresh. It's delicious if you make it much before. If you go to a store and you buy they made rotisserie in the morning, it's not, rotisserie is good. It comes off the fire, it's a la esh, you take it off, and then you take a scissor, you cut the pieces. It's really good. The Korban Pesach is the same thing. When the Yidden ate the Korban Pesach, they roasted the Korban Pesach a la esh, and when they finished roasting it, they put it straight on the table, they cut it up, and it's the Gevent Tam Gan Eden. The Gemora said, the Medrash says that the Yidden were lazy to do the bris milah, and the Medrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu Mitzrayim, he started roasting his Korban Pesach. Yeah. And all the Eden smelled it. They said, we also want to eat. He said, Kol b'neicha lo yochel, but you have to have a bris milah. So everyone did the bris milah. So food has a big effect on the food. Yeah. If you have somebody who doesn't want to make bris milah, just take him out to eat. It does, exactly. Take him out for shawarma. The kosher. Good steakhouse or something. Yeah. So it's hard because I know we're older people. Yeah. Right. They have a risk. Exactly. It says taki. Yeah. It says, yeah. It's good to know. So what happens when, not like the kvias of this year, but when Erev Pesach is Erev Shabbos, so you eat the Korban Pesach Friday night. So if you're going to roast the Korban Pesach on Friday, not fresh. You didn't want it to have it fresh. Come straight off the fire and put it on the table, cut it up, you eat it. It's delicious. You're going to roast it on Friday. So if you're going to roast it on Friday and then leave it on the coals on Shabbos, it's overcooked. So you got to put it into the oven right before the sun sets, and then it roasts, and then by the time you finish saying Hallel and you sit down and you eat a meal, and Pesach is Nechel Al HaSoiva, and so on and so forth. Oh, but the problem is we have the Fegazeda Shemi Echata Begecholim. So what are we gonna do? Zog the Gemara Mishals from the Pesach, my time. So Gemara Mishum de Bneicha Buddha Zrizin. When the Yidden are busy doing a Korban Pesach, Daf Chofa Medalef. Chofa Medalef, like 12 lines from the top. The Bnei Chabura is reasoning. The Bnei Chabura, the people that are doing the Korban Pesach, they're very conscientious about doing the mitzvah correctly. You know, when it's just like when when Beis Menachem Mendel, we go to bake the matzahs. Like I explained when we had the shir last week. Right away everyone's looking for another hidur, another thing, and like everyone's looking with open eyes because like that's the whole thing. We're busy trying to be mahadeh b'mitzvahs. So when the Eden were baking and roasting the Korban Pesach, the Bnei Chaburim were very zoris, and they would remind each other not to be machata b'gecholim. So the Gemara if it wouldn't have been because of the Korban Pesach, lo, it wouldn't be permissible. I don't understand. We said earlier in Daf Yudches, Gadye, if it was a Gedi, Ben Shorik, Ben Lo Shorik, if it's a basar of a Gedi, if the oven was plastered or not plastered, Shaper Dami, you're allowed to leave it. And if we go with Shittas Rashi, the Gedi, there's two kulas. There's a Gedi, basar Gedi, because the wind will ruin it. And then there's the kula when it's tuach betit, which reminds a person that it's Shabbos. But the Gedi, by the way, when we say here Gedi, we don't only mean a goat. When we learned it originally, I said that most Jews today don't eat goat. I meant like if you go to pomegranate, they have good cuts of this and that. You could find duck. If you're lucky, you can find goose. I don't mean I'm going to find geese.
Lamb chops.
Lamb chops a gefinnis, a Yiddish azach. But you're not going to find Gedi. But the Schwarzes, they love Gedi. Oh yeah, the Jamaicans. Yeah, they make
not Afro-Americans.
No. You see, roti. There's a store I go to Kradite. It's just funny. They serve one thing in the restaurant: roti and doubles.
What is that, stew?
Yeah, it's a stew. It's like a chant. I go to a chant. We have a Thursday night. We have a shir. My son-in-law started giving the Tanya, and I get the chant from Essen and Coney. So the guy told me that he tried. See, he had a Schwarzer worker from the Caribbeans, mamish amumche, and how to make beans. So the Schwarzer makes for him the chant. The Schwarzer weiß, wie zu machen chant. The means the heimische Jiden wissen in Borough Park in Williamsburg in the Streimler. He tells me, no, these guys don't know. This Schwarze from the weiß, wie zu machen chant. He makes the chant for them in Essen and Coney.
When he was working in the 90s, I was going eating in Williamsburg. There was a Schwarze making the song.
Oh yeah,
one of the it's not like Caribbean. It's a big Caribbean.
They make like goat. The ragu. It's like today what we call pulled beef. So they have goat ragu. But I said it just stam. But the emphasis when we say here gedi, we don't mean gedi as a goat. I mean a goat, a sheep, a chicken. As we see in the Shulchan Aruch, the poskim angenommen that the chicken and the gedi is the zabazach. What we mean to say is a small animal. Yeah. A chicken, a duck, a goose, a goat, a sheep, as opposed to a buffalo, a cow, a tzvi, venison. Venison also, they don't sell it so much.
Only there's a store online, kosher. Only only online. They barely sell it in the store.
Yeah, they barely sell this.
Was very tasty like this. Has a different taste.
It has a different taste. The ganz good.
Gamey.
Very, very gamey. It's a ganz good.
Gamey,
Tastes as anders. It tastes like the feel.
Tastes wild.
Yeah, it tastes wild. Yeah.
Is there some restaurants where you can get it? No, nobody serves it.
You know who used to have it on their menu in a restaurant? Lavana Kirschenberg. Oh, my children love her recipe book. She has a recipe book.
She had a restaurant?
Yeah, she had a restaurant many years ago in Manhattan, and my kids love it till today. That's the oldest cookbook in my house. Wow. They make. She has chocolate chip cookies. That
very good food.
Yeah, instead of making it with shortening and margarine, she makes it with oil. So it's much healthier. Okay, I'm sorry. Met verkrochen da bisschen von the so gedi.
The other animal you said now, that's like a deer, I think.
Yeah. So I'm saying gedi means a small animal, like a dog, a sheep, a chicken, a goat. That's what we mean, as opposed to a deer, a buffalo, heavy load. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara, Gadya ben Sharik ben Shapir Dami. We said that a Gadya daf Chofam Adalef like 14 lines from the top. Amar Mar the Gadya ben Sharik ben Sharik Shapir Dami. According to Rashi, the pshat is that all these small animals, the wind is very bad for them. So therefore, we're not scared that the person is going to open the oven to be mechatel v'gecholim. So the Gemara Mahasa Minta over there, we're talking about that the young animal is cut into pieces. So the wind is very bad for it. Over here, the young animal is not cut into pieces, like the Alter Rebbe brings from Seba Truma, that the ribs and the inside are going to keep the moisture good. It will keep therefore where the person is not conscious for the wind. So the only cooler that there could be is if it was tuach betit. Again, we're learning now Shitas Rashi. It would be tuach betit. But by Korban Pesach, it doesn't have to be tuach betit. Machne shtois. You could put it in, and it doesn't have to be tuach betit. Embaya. There's no problem. Why? Because they're bimat kriya dodi. They're going to remind each other. So if you remember, when I brought here the rotisserie machine, one of the 5 reasons to be makel is because it has like a rubber band that you put on. So if we're going to design now a rotisserie lekava the Korban Pesach, so we don't have to have that shnipishits on there because it doesn't, because of Korban Pesach, we're not, even if it'll be for Erev Pesach, Shecholi is Be'erev Shabbos, B'nei Chabura Zrizin him. So you know,
families gathered together.
yeah. So we don't have to be choshish for that. We're not going to have a special thing to close it in order to be considered tuach betit v'chud. Okay, let's continue the Gemara. Machizan es oil. You're allowed to make the fires to start burning, and the Gemara, the Mishnah says depends if it was the Beis HaMoiked or the Gevula Yisrael where the Eden lived. So Gemara Menan Amila, how do we know there's a difference? Some of the it says in the pasuk in last week's parsha. Wherever the Eden live, you're not allowed to make a fire. You're allowed to make a fire in the Meduda's Beis HaMoiked. Frag the Gemara. Even a Shabbos should make the fire. It's a pasuk. It's talking about on Shabbos. Hello, Omar Reb Chizda. It's not true. The pasuk came to tell me that that you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. That in the Gvula Yisrael you're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. So Mela, if you're going to put a vorim pedorim on a fire, besides bishul, you're going to make the fire bigger, smaller. So it's also, but in the Beis HaMikdash it's mutter. The Mishnah is talking about the Beis HaMoiked. Koinim Zerizim, it's a separate reason. Just like the Bnei Chabura Zerizim, Koinim Zerizim. We know the Beis HaMikdash, the Koinim are very hard to do mitzvahs. So we're not worried that they're going to be mechata and that they're going to move around the fire because they're going to know it's Shabbos. They're not going to move the fire. There's a Geshmak at Tosfos. We should learn maybe a few lines of Tosfos. The Mishrei Vorim Pedorim.
Second one.
Second Tosfos. First Tosfos we did last week. Im Toimer Rie Vorim Pedorim the Choyel the Pirisha Kunteris. Omer bePedek. Madlikin Eil Shabbos b'Shabbat v'Leilas Chayil b'Shabbos. V'Ye Vorim Pedorim the Shabbos. The Lashminen the Bechol Moshe Zechen Gav the Mitzvos and Kalalayla v'Efsher like Tiran the Matzah Shabbos. Afila Hochi Dochi Shabbos is Amoil Shabbos Nafkel Memait Oilas Choyil. And I'll call it Vorim uPedorim the Choyil the Shchito Zrika of his Mane b'Shkis Achama in Kene Vorim uPedorim the Shabbos Kevin b'Shabbos. He says I don't understand some Tosfos. When the pasuk says. And the pasuk says, "Oila Shabbos v'Shabbat." So obviously, and loy oilas chil b'Shabbos for shechting. Obviously, You have to shech. By definition, the oila is every day. It's a korban tomid. You have to do it every day: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. Elamai, the Torah is telling you they vodim upadorim. That even though you might think that they vodim you're allowed to do balayla, so a person will say we should wait till we make Havdalah on the base of Mikdash and then put the vodim on the mizbeh. So no, the Torah says you're allowed to do it. So
the vodim are not part of the korban.
They're part, but you might think that you should wait till after Havdalah because
on Shabbos, no?
because we have no choice. When are you going to bring it after Havdalah? You can't check the korban after Havdalah. The vodim means to bring it on to the mizbeh and put on the fire. But over that mitzvah, that's why we have a maidim. It's a mitzvah some balayla you can do by night. So heavy amina that you shech the korban by day and wait to put the avodim on the fire till after Havdalah. So that's what the pasuk says. That even on Shabbos, that can't tell you that you're allowed to. We don't need a pasuk to tell you have to shech the korban tamid Shabbos. The Torah says it's a korban tamid. It means every day. There's no time to shecht it after the sun sets. Elamai, the pasuk came to tell you that even the avodim, which you could wait till the sun sets and do by night, like the tzvasa kol alayla, still Torah wants to tell you can do it in Shabbos. So already Torah told you a pasuk early Shabbos was Shabbat that you're allowed to do the avodim on Shabbos. So why do we need a separate pasuk of bechol mashveisei that lo yisavadu eish bechol mashveisei chamiyem Shabbos that in the Beis Hamikdash it's mutter. So the Gemara said the Yesh Shlomo Tosa says the osel mishrei avodim pedorim dechoil kishamosh labehem oyer mib oid yoim. There's a chiddush over here. That besides the fact from Oila Shabbos v'Shabbat that the Oila Shabbos you're allowed to do in Shabbos, if there's a vodim from Friday that it was already moshla b'ma'or, you're allowed to finish burning it on Shabbos. And this one the Gemara said that if it's Oilas Chol, you're not allowed to bring it to Shabbos, it's talking about that the fire never touched it. That if there's a vodim from Friday, you make a marocha and a separate fireplace on the mizbech and you put it there. I feel like one of the hainu the omar then oisla marocha b'fnei you don't make a special marocha. Everyone agrees the soiden al marocha gedola that you would be kosher to put it on the big fire. Once the oil already went into the vodim, that's the chiddush that you're allowed to from Friday if you have pieces of meat that are raw, loyalist chayil b'Shabbos. But if you have a piece that the fire already went into it a little bit, then you're allowed to continue Shabbos. For the muchal chosin. It's mashma that what happened to the Beis Hamikdash was they tried to do everything as quick as they could. Zirizim akdim al mitzvahs, the koinim zirizim hey. Elamai, there was a lot of times an overload of korbanos, and there wasn't shayach poshut. There was such an overload of korbanos. That's the simcha coming to Yosef Atzadik. Yeah. So they had such an overload of korbanos, they had no choice. They had to do it by night. It wasn't their first, as we see over here, Lagabi the vodim of pedorim of Shabbos. The Torah says, I'd rather David says, I'd rather you do it today, even though you could wait for by night. So why the Metzias was that they used to have a vodim pedorim balayla? It seems that the Metzias was because they used to try to do the korban tomit shaben arbaim. They did it as soon as possible. Shisha v'chetzi, shiva v'chetzi, shmona v'chetzi. But by 2.5 hours before that's it. And once they did the last korban tomit, that's it. Gates are closed. There's no more korbanos being shechted. And then they had an overload of korbanos. And it would take a whole night to process all the avodim to get it burnt up. At the time it was the Shmura Rishon in the morning, then it was all ashes. And then they would take Trumas Hadesh and V'chulu. But it seems that the Metzias was that they had plenty of burning to do by night. So that's what the Torah tells us, that if Friday, loyalist chil b'Shabbos, so Friday you didn't start putting these pieces of meat in the fire on the mizbeach. Forget about it. Whatever, it's going to turn into noise. It'll be whatever. But what can you do? But if the fire already started, heavy, it's like Friday's korban, kamash malon. Loisavaru eish b'chol mashvei seichem b'yom Shabbos. Havul b'beis hamikdash is mutter. Okay, I want to stop at this point because till the end of the Tyson, there's no more very big Kedushim. I don't want to finish the page.
You want to tell me what?
That one pasuk is to tell me that on Shabbos I'm allowed to take the Evorim and put on the fire, even though you might think I should wait till after Havdalah. And the second Chidush, the second pasuk is to tell me also the Evorim from Friday, if Moshla Behema Oid, I'm allowed to put it on the fire on Shabbos. If not,
let's say 5 minutes before you mentioned they did the shchita. What do you do?
It's a possible. The carbon becomes.
So from before Shabbos, if you cannot put it on the Evorim,
that's it. It's over. Yeah. It probably didn't happen so much because the carbon tamid they already shechted 2.5 hours before Shabbos. So why wouldn't they yet put the Evorim? It should be at least, it should be mashal amoyer. Should be a little bit of fire in it. It doesn't say how much has to be mashal amoyer. It's mashal a little bit. Mashal amoyer would have already been good. That the fire already consumed a little bit of the meat.
It got partially cooked.
Yeah, partially cooked. Yeah.
What's done, by the way, what is that again?
The fats.
Fat. Okay.
Awesome, because in the Daf Yomi we had yesterday that they do the shchita and take the skin off. How much they take the skin off? Till the head. Yeah. And what they're allowed to do after it? They Evorim in this, they leave or
what are you holding in the
some no, it wasn't Samar.
Where? Which was exactly, you know.
Menachos.
Oh, yeah, Menachos.
It's right back to these keepers.
Very nice.
No, I'm sorry, Punk is exactly the same thing. So
yeah.
But Gevulin is the Shdechas Ruben, my Ruben. And they say in the base Hamoik, once you start the fire, it's good enough. But in the Gevulin, it has to be that the fire really poured on. My Ruben. Omarav, Rov Kolech Leveyechem. It has to be Rov of every log. As long, it doesn't have to be really Ruben. As long as he already put up the fire, and they're not asking to bring another little pieces of newspaper and twigs to help the fire go, that's already considered Rov. Tana Rav Chia l'Siyul Shmuel. Rav Chia said, I have a raya to Shmuel. It says in the Braise that Aaron has to be Baloischos and Neidus. It's to pick up the Neidus. What does it mean it's to pick up the Neidus? Sarebe picked up this up. What's a pick up? It's the Sarebe. What does it mean? So that Aaron has to hold the match or the wick or whatever he's lighting the menorah with and wait for the fire to be so strong on the wick that you wouldn't have to need any siyua afterwards. It says the same thing over here. That just like over there when the Torah says that you have to, it doesn't mean you have to have roiv of the psila, roiv hayotzim and psila. What's the difference? The bottom line is, as long as Aaron kept the fire by the wick long enough that now he doesn't need any other siyua, he did the mitzvah. The same thing over here. Why should you say Ibrahim to Shmuel? Shmuel is Mekel. Why would you say Mamash you need to have roiv of every log? As long as the Metzias is that no one's going to say, oh, bring another few twigs, because Segeit Shen good. Segeit Geshmiert. Once the fire is good, it's good. Obviously, in Avodas Hashem, well, what's the pshat? Yeah, what's the pshat? So without Yid has to be lighting the fire to another Yid's neshama. So the shaila is how long do I have to put the fire to another neshama? Zok the Torah achidush. Heve Amina that I taught him a little bit, and it's good. Now I put the fire in his neshama. No, it has to be that he's not going to have to go to another rebbe, and I put enough fire in his neshama that he's going good. So I'm already ready for Pesach.
He's already could make another one.
No, it's not fear.
Yeah.
So there's a talks and tales about a beautiful story. At many years ago, hundreds of years ago in Poland, the counts got together, and one of the Britzim got up and said that in one of his towns there was a Goyish girl that disappeared, and the Goyim was saying that Eden needed for the matzah of Moral. So he suggests that they should get rid of the Eden in the whole country of Poland. Whatever. The borders of Poland is not so clear. But a lot of Yidden, in the past 500 years, from when the Yidden were chased out of the Iberian Peninsula, a lot of Yidden, like contrary to what people think, most of us are Lavdavka descendants of the Yidden from that came, when the Churban Beis Hamikdash that ended up in Rome, and then were in Italy, and then traveled upwards to Europe. It's not true. A lot of us are really descendants of Yidden that came from Spain, and Pasha were expelled. Why the Ashkenazim? Because they went to Ashkenaz countries and they took Numenhogen. Anyway, a lot of Yidden lived in Poland for 500 years. So, huh? No, I'm saying more, for sure more, but I'm saying it's like that's.
It's a Polish when it came from.
Huh?
The slang is a Polish when it come from.
So, it would be a big tzara for Klal Yisrael. Every poet's got up and said all about the bad things of the Yidden in their towns. So the Melech was not such a bad guy, but he saw all the Britzim want. He said, look, if everyone agrees, he's masking that they're going to expel all the Yidden, and all the Rechush will be taken to the crown. So all of a sudden, one guy gets up, Vladik, a poritz, big fat poritz, with a big fat mustache, and he gets up and he says Rabbi Say, you know that I was a Jew. He says, and as you know, I make a lot of jokes of them. But one thing I can tell you, it's forbidden for Jews to eat blood. They soak their meat, they soak their chickens, they salt it. They don't eat blood. It's a Vabamaisa. People were shocked. The Melech was happy. He didn't really want to get rid of the Eden, and the whole thing went off to say that Ayoim again. So yeah, blood libels are not a new thing. It was today. There's this guy somewhere in the government that quit. That he said that he doesn't want to be in the administration. Why? Because Israel, angered the president.
I thought it was Haban.
No.
No, the different guy. This guy did a great
So I mean, like blood libels.
No, but it's a big gala that says because of Chavaz.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
I should it to you.
Yeah.
That's another one.
I was very happy.
So okay. This battle of one of the Gzeir. No. But Azoidach mitzvah this mitzvah, the other Puritzim was shocked. And he always made jokes of the Jews. He hated the Jews. And all of a sudden, he stood up for the Jews. Alapoil is a Yiddish neshama because he did one mitzvah. So already went into his heart, that he remembered the time when he was in business and that the Bislam Matzliach Keven. He met a shiksan almona from Aporitz, and he dropped his Jewish wife and children to go live with the shiksa, and then he took over the business of the that Poritz and the Velvel Gevon Vladik. And he's going back in memory lane, and he's starting to think that it was a mistake. But he's a Poritz and he owns a lot of land, and he's a koy. What's he gonna do? He hears that there's a rebbe in one of the villages. There's a rov, a rebbe. There's a yid. So he tells his family he's going out to hunting. He goes hunting, Kilu, and he gets to that town before the sun sets. He asks, where's the Rav's house? They told him where the Rav's house. He goes there when it's already dark. It's quiet outside. He parks his horse. He jumps into the Rav's house. The Rav looks up. He says, the Poritz, what do you want? Tells him the whole story of how he saved the Yidden, and that from then on, he can't, the bug is not leaving his heart. He knows he's a Yid. He wants to do tshuva. I was thinking, that's all he needs. Trouble like this. First of all, he doesn't know if this guy is sincere or not. Maybe he's testing it. And if he is sincere, it's the Reshtat Tzorah. So He says, you know what? It ain't a stink up. Like nicely, he said, no, but I want to do tshuva. He said, you know what? You know the stick in your hand? When that starts growing a plant on it, that's when you'll do tshuva. Mit namo, vayotzes tzitz, vayotzes perech, vayigmel shkedem. Started, Rebbe, look, it's growing. Green stuff is growing out of my stick. The Rav looked, something is growing. Okay. Shma mino, min hashamayim, that this guy is sincere, it's not dangerous. So he said, look, I'll tell you exactly a derech hatshuva, but you can't live here. You're going to endanger all the Eden in Poland. You have to disappear. Fake news. You have to make sure that everyone thinks you died. And once everyone thinks you died, then you'll disappear. I'll give you a letter to a Rav in Amsterdam. A lot of Yidden are living there and doing business. Try to liquidate some stuff, have cash with you. And then he wrote a letter to a Rav in Amsterdam to ask that he should help the Yid to be choiz of a tshuva shlema. The part it's left, a few days later, supposedly he went out to hunt. There was an accident and his horse came back and they were looking for his body. They couldn't find it, but they were convinced he was dead and he disappeared. And the Taka get on tshuva. So that's the pshat. The pshat is like this.
So what happened to the garden in his hand? Still there? Or is that?
Huh? Not the hand. The stick. The stick.
Question on the
The stick is still there. It's in Poland. You have to go.
They have a somewhere, but a man from the concentration.
Nah, the stick. So that's the word. The word of the word is ganz poshut. That the shaila between Rav and Shmuel is, and you have to be, how much do you have to do? How much eish do you have to put into another yid? Is it Rav says Rubik Kuloi? Shmuel says the ikid is that it's oila me'eleho. As long as you did enough that you don't have to, there's no more needed siyua, the Talmud, the Chosid, Pushpa, the other Yid, your business colleague, v'chulu. So then, once it's oila me'elev, you helped him in order to the fire is already burning, then you did your job. As long as you didn't do that, you didn't do your job yet. Okay. Weiter in the Gemara. Okay. How much if it's only one log? Again, Rav. What's a Rav Ovya? Ovya means pnimius. A kefa is chitzonius.
Like a coal that is inside.
So Omer Papa Hilt bin a Rav Ovya bin a Rav kefa. You need both. Ketano is a Gemara of Emes Samachlok is tonight. It has to be so burnt that no woman would ever pick up this piece of eight to carve something out of it, because it's burnt bepnimius through and through in the inside. If you don't say it, then as long as the age goes from both sides, goes it says in Yecheskel, when Eibishter is giving Musa to the Anshe Yerushalayim, he said if a person takes a Atze Gefen and he's going to burn fire all around it, after that, Ayitzlach Lamalacha. So the Mashra you don't have to be burnt pnimius. As long as it's burnt on the outside, it's not Matzliach anymore Lamalach. Toisvus asks, how's that an ayah? The last two lines. According to the opinion,
meaning the woman could do from inside something.
Right, it could still take wood from the inside, and it's good wood. Which is a very thin eight. So once the fire is already on all around and they're outside, it's not going to be matzliach.
Nothing inside left.
So that's why it's ain't Eiladov, it's only a Zeichel. It's a Loshen Apostle. It's really not a Raya. Because in a regular piece of eight, it is Yitzlach Lamalacha. But the Lepoil, the Loshen Apostle is the Kshnek Tzoisavach Leish, that's it, it's done. Okay. Apostle says, V'och Lefonom Mevaeris. So this is the story of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. Abisha told him to write a Megillah. And that's Megillah's Eicha. He wrote the Megillah, and he called the people Shalom, he told them to fast, and he gave his Talmud Ben to read the Megillah. Megillah's Eicha was written before the Churban, as if the Churban already happened. It's a Nevuah. And Memele the Yidden were a little bit beside, and the Sorim of the Melech heard, so they sent a Shliach, Baruch Vaneri and the Megillah, they said, want to see what's going on over here. They brought the Megillah in front of the Melech, and Ha'och Lefon of Mevaheres, and they got very angry. The Melech got angry, and he told them that they should take the entire Megillah and throw it into the fire. The pasuk says, "V'loy koru bigdeiim." That was Rachmana litzlan. Not only they burnt the Megillah that Yirmiyahu Hanavi wrote, which is one of the Kisvei HaKodesh, they didn't even write Kriya. They didn't do Kriya. And then David told Yirmiyahu to write it again. He should tell the Melech they'll have double the tzaras now. What's the loshon of och lefonim mevayeris? My och amarav achvan. That achvan is arovis that they grow be'achdus. So that's a och lefonim. That's a loshon of och lefonim mevayeris. Shmolama eitzim shenidluku be'achvana. Eitzim, any eitzim that burn together, they become like brothers to each other, because one eitz helps the other eitz burn. He was trying to sell achvana, and they looked in what he's selling. The Sifrei Chassidus talk a lot about why Arov is called achvana, because a lot of times the Eser Giden, Sheina Yidin, Esrogim, every Esrik says that nicer than the other Esrik. But the Arovis Yidin, the achvana, they have achtus. It's easier for them to have achtus. So we have to learn from the achvana to be ba'achtus. Amar Reb Huna, konim ein tzrichim roiv ogdon. If you have, I'm sorry, ein tzrichim roiv. These konim, they burn very well. You don't have to have roiv. Once it's burning, it burns. Ogdon, if he put together like 10 bamboos, tzrichim roiv now became like a big log. Agarinim ein tzrichim roiv, because they're very dry and they burn very well. Nosam b'chisolos, he packed them together in packages. They become like logs. Tzrichim roiv. Maskler of Chisda has, like Versteinish Adrabe. The other way is true. If it's sticks, and they can fly in the wind, and you're not going to have a fire. Ogdom, but once you put it together in one pile, they're not going to go flying.
So what? Flying or not?
If they're going to fly with the wind, then they're never going to burn. So the fact that you put together 10 bamboos in one,
the fire not going to hold with it.
Yeah, forget the fact that you oiged it make it burn better. Same thing Arinin, Mevadra, Nosabachasolos, Loy Mevadra, they're going to burn better. So the Gemara Itmar Name, we learned Take that Omer of Kahana, the halach is on one issue like Reb Hunan and on one issue like Reb Chizda. Konim Shogdom, if you're talking about bamboos or some thin sticks. So then, Tzrichim Roiv, that like Rashi says, because they're very long and heavy, we're not scared the wind is going to push it around. Elamai, when 10 of them are together, they become harder to burn because there's not enough oxygen going in between. And because there's a lack of oxygen going in between, if it's like a log, it's very hard to get the fire in a log. But Garinim tzrichim roiv. Nostam b'chisolos ein tzrichim roiv. Garinim faket. Rashi says, Garinim shenostam b'chisolos ein tzrichim roiv. Kerb chizda shenoichem lidolak. Aber maloch chisolos mevadri. Zog the Gemara Tani Rabbi Yosef Arba Maduras ein tzrichim roiv. There's 4 type of things that they burn so good. You never need roiv. Shel zefes, v'shel gofris, v'shel gvina v'shel revav. These are four things. Revav, as Rashi says, shumen, shaive, v'chol davar anitich, that the fire goes over there.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
So you don't need roiv. Amre b'yochanan eitzim shel bavel entzrechem roiv. That there's certain type of eitzim and bavel that they burn amazing. They were unbelievable. So the Gemora Maskell for Yosef Mai Ilay Mesilti. Which eitzim from bavel are you talking about? Rashi says silti. Lachash asom eitzim dakim bavel noikim kach. They used to splinter the mamish eitzim dakim, and the fire goes. Obviously, they're very dark. The fire goes very good. So that's not a chiddush. That's a davar mistaber zok the Gemara. Maskov Rabbi Yosef Mahi Ilay Mesilti Hashta Psila Amar Ula Hamadlik Tzarach Shat Reva Yoitze. Rashi says Amarula Hamadlik Neshal Shabbos Tzarach Shat Reva Yoitze Merosh Psila. Chut Shebeneir, because once he already did the Reva Yoitze Mechutz Laneir, we're sure that it's going to burn good, and we're not scared that Chas V'Shalom that's going to burn out and accidentally the woman will light the candle again.
Maybe that's why people like to light the candles before Shabbos.
Yeah, Schmaltzen, we spoke about it. Labetzia says that Schmaltzen doesn't help these days. Okay. So what's the chiddush she's saying? Silti is garnished. It burns so good. So obviously you wouldn't have to have roiv of the silti. A little bit, it's good enough. Elam Rabbi Yosef shucha di arze. Rabbi Bachom called it zaza.
And dry and skinny.
Yeah, your shuchad arz is yovishu v'dak v'yesh kamin tzemer ben klipa la'etz. So because there's a tzemer that's there between the klipa and the eitz, humaviroi mishachas aboy oyer. It's a type of tree that between the bark and the wood there is a certain type of tzemer, and what happens is
catch on fire once
that the tzemer catches on fire. There's no way the log is not going to go on fire. It's like surrounded as a gut, and that's so. Therefore, over there we say yotzim in a cloud doesn't have to be roiv. So this is a few yotzim in a cloud, just like the Mishnah said, the yotzim cloud al pechomen, which is colds that you don't have to have roiv. So when that
kind of wood.
So that's really what it says in Tanya. It says in Tanya
on
the mevachin, yeah, that if it's a big fat log. In order to get the Nahoid and the Nishmasa inside, it's very hard to get into big fat log, the Nahoid and the Nishmasa. But if it's small pieces, is a little bit of fire. Don't worry, it's a Tal's game. Because that's the Indian, when a person, that's what Alter says, a person sometimes mavatl himself. Because when a person walks around with a big fat log in his heart, like he's big balgaiva, or not a balgaiva, is just very chumrizdik. So the oil and the shama doesn't catch fire. It's very hard. Shenkin, when you splinter it, it's chapt on gring. So that we see, look, having the dinim of Shabbos, that when you have a big fat log, you need to have roiv. Okay, what's roiv? You need to have roiv. But if you have this thin taki, you splinter it like silti and bovel. So in Eretz Yisrael, they're not so concerned so much. But in Bavel is a place which is meruchik from Eretz Yisrael, and it's a bika, like the Gemara says that Av bika motza of other goder bageder. So they knew that medaf stark arbet with the eights, you got to chop it up to make it thin. In Bavel they were smart; they knew to avoid it. They knew that if you're just going to have a big fat log, the fire, the neshama is not going to knecharain. So they knew the trick already. Omar Rav Masifta Derekia all the Savak ben Hoida. So they already knew the trick. So the Mela, once they already making it into splinters, a little fire and it's Shanal's. Okay. So now David Shalhalfen, and we're going into the Pesach, the Mitzvah Hashem. Tomorrow night is already the Shoidish. Mismach Gula Legula.
We didn't finish. What's Zaza?
So ask your kids, they know what Zaza is.
תמיד ככה וצומח סביב לאילן. כמו הירוק הזה שצומח ליד העץ.
מולשה בלaz. מולשה בלaz. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pesach.
אני לא יודע.
You know some
Yeah, yeah,
marijuana
yeah.
that says something?
Something else.
אני לא
Maybe
יודעת.
it's in Spanish. Maybe in Spanish.
No, I don't know.
One episode. I
Okay,
want some-
very good. So,
I
Huh?
could translate more.
יש כאלה,
Huh?
אתה יודע, יש להם את הסלנג הזה.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
he's playing.
yeah.
That's Sarkanese.
Yeah, remember when we were learning about the
That's
thing,
like
I had pieces of
From
moss
Mecca.
that I took from the south that I broke
כמה
down.
יכולה לחיות פה?
Okay, so this is the end of the sugya of Reish Nun Gimel Reish Nun Daled Reish Nun Hey. Lina that tomorrow we'll finish Siman Reish Nun Daled Reish Nun Hey. Reish Nun Vav we learned last summer,
Yeah.
and that's good. So we're
Huh?
done for
Sing
that.
on Friday night.
Bez
Yeah.
Hashem Yisborach, after Pesach, we're gonna continue in the Gemora from Daf Mem Omid Aleph. We're gonna start. It's not Mem. It's Lametes. We're gonna start from Lametes. It's really Lametes and Bez the end. Yeah, and that's gonna be Siman Shin Ches. It's a very important Siman. Kli Hishin, Kli Sheni, Kli Shishi, sugar and salt and Bishlach and Bishul. And Megis, like the very important place.
I thought by then we finished the Rambam, the Shabbos already.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The Rambam,
And then
Sunday,
Pesach,
Monday,
you
Tuesday.
said the harvest
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
What's Megan mean, by the way? I heard the word mixing them.
Yeah.
By the way, with officially, that come out that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But it is also barbecue, they usually rotisserie barbecue.
Well,
I mean, my-
Yes.
Ja, shkoyach, Rabbi, shkoyach.
Yeah.
Ja, shkoyach.
Yeshikoyach, thank you for joining us. And the Mitzvah Shem next week is all dedicated to Pesach. Mitzvah Shem. Sunday we're learning Sicha, Geschmack Sicha about Chai Vodem Lidas Atzmoy. And Tuesday, Wednesday we're going to do stories and Vetlach and Agoda.
That's good.
Okay.
Don't forget if you're next